Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Thrive. My name is Nick Way. I am the Senior Director of Brand Marketing here at Home Helpers, and very excited to have Kate Ricke with us. Kate, you have been with Home Helpers for a while now, but I'll let you speak more about that. And please share more about, how long have you been with Home Helpers and where are you located?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thanks for inviting me today, Nick. So my location is in Loveland, Colorado. That is located in the northern Colorado area. We call it the Front Range. And I've had this franchise for almost 4 years.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, share with us, what were you doing prior to opening your own Home Helpers franchise?
Well, I've been in the healthcare field for 25 years. Um, I was doing more, though, revenue cycle management. I worked for a very, white glove consulting firm and specialized in hospital-based physician groups. So I worked with a lot of radiologists and anesthesiologists on revenue cycle management.
Wonderful. And as far as owning your own business, what led you to, well, actually, let's take it back a little bit farther. Timeline. When did you decide you wanted to look into opening your own business?
So this is something I started really considering around 2015. So I mean, I had about 5 years of this ticking around in my brain before actually, making steps and offers and reading any kind of franchise disclosure statements. But the reason behind that was really about wanting to be more dialed into my community, and be in that leadership role versus, the more of a consulting role.
Wonderful. And when you started looking into opening your own business, was it instantly you wanted to be in home care, or were you looking at other industries as well?
I really was only looking into home care. Yeah.
And what led you to, with your experience in the healthcare background, what led you to see the need, if you will, in home care? Was there some event, or was there something you saw within your market that led you to toward that decision?
Well, like I mentioned, I mean, I had the idea in my head for years. I saw the need first in my family, as many people do, with my grandparents and my own father needing some home care assistance. But also, the obvious silver tsunami look at me in the face, right? I believe understanding what's going on with our aging population, this was a solid business idea, re- regardless of what part of senior aging you were in, right? So I was drawn more to home care because of the services we can provide and truly making an impact on the families in the community.
That's awesome. And it's always so exciting for me to hear from our franchisees because, one thing that I appreciate about franchising and especially at Home Helpers is the difference in that path to get here. In your instance, for example, knowing that home care was the industry for you, I'm sure there's a lot of listeners that feel the same way. They've seen the need through family experience or just in the community with the aging population. And, I guess from there, when you knew that this was the industry, what led you toward franchising, the concept of franchising versus, doing it yourself? What was that like?
I found the franchise appealing because it felt more like joining a family that was already there instead of, just doing it on my own. I liked the idea of there being a playbook, and there being a community of owners. I knew that that was something that would behoove me.
Great. And as far as the companies out there, what was it specifically, your due diligence process that really honed you in on home helpers?
Well, I'd have to give it up there to our CEO, Emma Dickinson. She certainly a woman of vision and caught my attention from the first time I read an article about her in a United Airline magazine as I was going from coast to coast in my revenue cycle position. So I certainly was drawn to home helpers first and foremost because of Emma. And then as I started to do my due diligence and research, I met Ricke, who is my neighbor and almost responsible for the brand being what it is in Colorado before I joined the Home Helpers family. So I found both of those leaders. It was like instant connections.
Awesome. And what made as you made that decision and you were awarded your franchise, you know, we all know that opening a business, those first years are critical, whether it's a franchise or whether you're opening your own business, any business. So my question is, what made your first years after opening your franchise easier, would you say?
Um, Probably at the top of that list again would be having a great neighbor. Ricke, one of our owners, had been in business for 12 years before I opened my doors. And we had that instant connection. I was able to chat with him from even some of the beginning stages, like looking and creating my business plan, to then having doors open and saying, well, what would you do in this instance? You know, are you drug testing your employees? It didn't matter what the question was. I have floated almost all of them, you know, by Rick, which has been really helpful. Um, Speaking of the business plan, I think revisiting the business plan at least quarterly in those first couple of years is paramount to remembering, you know, what direction we're headed in, and sometimes you do need to make tweaks along the way. I also opened my doors during COVID, so there was a lot going on in addition to being a brand new baby business.
I was
Um,
going to ask you about that. Just highlighting during that time, what were some of the, I remember that time as well. What were some of the biggest attributes, being part of the franchise help during that time? There was a lot of change going on during that time.
There sure was, and bringing on caregivers was really difficult. There were unemployment benefits that were much more tantalizing to a lot of the folks that we typically hire as caregivers, and especially in the state where I'm at in Colorado, the benefit was very high and for a very long time. So I think a lot of the people were choosing, right, the path of unemployment benefits rather than getting out there and working. So that was certainly a challenge. But in some ways, it helped too, because even other home care agencies in my market that had been around for a while and were thriving were sort of in this for the first time, right? And that we were all trying to navigate these waters. And so it wasn't like, you know, they were the dynasty now and I was the baby. We were all in this together. So I think that that helped a lot, even with developing referral partners in the community, as we were all
Absolutely.
trying to just navigate how to get through this.
I will tell you and echo what you said. Being part of a community during that time, such a it was such a comfort, and it was also all hands on deck, and it was just
Mhm.
so exciting as an organization to see, because there were a lot of industries that really struggled. We ended up growing right through it, and that's something that's really exciting to see. And I think it's testament to, not only support from the National Support Center, but also we have just a wonderful network of franchisees, hands down.
Mhm.
And I personally don't use family too much in business, but they are. Everybody that I've come in experience, to your point, really is there to support each other,
Mhm.
be part of franchising. So now that you've established your business, what do you most enjoy about it?
Um, again, I'd say community. Being able to help families through a difficult time is, to me, why I started the business and why it feels so rewarding. Um, Walking into a home where the family caregivers, whether that's spouses or potentially the adult children, are so stressed out, right? They can barely get through their sentences without breaking down into tears, or they're now really frustrated at either their mom or their wife, just because that's how it works when you're burnt out as a family caregiver, right? Being able to come in and really make a difference and see them now get back to mother daughter relationship or husband and wife, seeing them sit on the couch together holding hands versus walking out of the room pulling hair out is so rewarding.
It is, and I think that that's something unique about our industry is it really affects so many of, and I say the word us versus community, because we're part of that. I mean, I've had it in my own family and went through it. And to have home care really does, it lets you be the relationship to the person, your loved one, that it should be much,
Right.
much more than just caregiver. And along those lines of what you enjoy most, can you paint a picture for our listeners of what the average day, week looks like for you as you run your agency? Different activities so people get a good sense of, hey, I'm looking into home care, whether, still exploring franchising. What does the day in the life look like?
Well, and I would say that it certainly is different now, 4 years, than it was in year one, as we've grown and I have more support staff.
Yeah,
So certainly some of those activities in the beginning were as simple as looking at the schedule. Did everyone clock in on time?
sure.
Is everyone getting along with their caregivers? And now I'm spending more time in community networking events, making sure that our brand is out there, visiting more referral partners in facilities and retirement communities.
Wonderful. And if you were, again, folks listening to this are at different stages in their cycle that maybe it's days after they had, I'm going to open it. I would love to open my own business. Can I do it? Or maybe they're right on the precipice of deciding, am I going to go alone or am I going to go with franchising? What's one piece of advice for folks in that position that you would have for someone who's considering starting their own business?
Yeah, and so I think regardless of if you're doing it on your own or with a franchise support network, it's identifying right out of the gate what your boundaries are going to be. And I think it is important to still create time for yourself, whether that is family time or dedicated to your hobbies. If your friends are like your family, then don't give up Saturday wine nights with your girlfriends. um, yeah, we can still run the business and have balance in our life, but it's up to us to know what that boundary is.
Love it. Love it.
And don't wait too long to hire that additional staff, because that makes a huge difference to have managers and care coordinators and schedulers that you can rely on, and delegate the work to.
Thank you very much. No, I really appreciate the insights. And like I said, one of the new things that I had learned is you're someone that really saw the opportunity early on, and I know that a lot of listeners do that, and they kind of right then they can move toward that goal. And we're so happy. You've done some phenomenal things. You've won awards within the organization. I mean, your photos all through our office with with the awards you've won at our conferences and everything. But I want to thank you very much for sharing your experience and much success in the future. I will share with our folks too. If you do have questions and want to learn more about, hey, is this the right fit for me? I invite you to call our team, our franchise development team. We talk with folks who, we're there to answer questions, whether it's about the industry, about franchising. You know, we talk to a lot of different people. Franchisings are the right fit for many folks, and then for other folks, it might not be. But it's worth your time, and I think Kate, you'd agree, it's worth your time to know and to get the information because it's going to help you no matter what you decide to do later on. So that phone number to reach us is 844-899-8801. And you can also email us at franchisedevelopment@homehelpersfranchise.com. And again, it's no obligation, call, text, what have you, but we would love to spend some time with you and help see if this might be something that could help you achieve your professional and personal goals of business ownership. So, Kate, Ricke, thank you again for joining us. I'm Nick Way signing off, and we'll see you next time.